found that there were a lot of parallels to what we do with the national team in hockey and Olympic sport and what you guys do every single day in the various sectors of ACON across the country. And really, as an Olympic athlete, we live in a world of a lot of highs and lows. And we work pretty much as a female hockey player. We work for about 3.8 years in relative anonymity. And then 2 weeks every 4 years in February, the world watches women's hockey, for the most part. And so our job is really about performance on demand and bringing our best when it matters the most. That one final game that 13 million Canadians watched across Canada, figuring out how to make a performance that's going to, have Canadians proud of, bring home a gold medal. And I think in a lot of ways it's no different than what you all have to do in your daily lives and in your projects that you work on. The details that go into building a major highway or a mining project that probably not too many people pay attention to until the final result is there and they're expected to perform and deliver on time and deliver results. And so I very much understand what that life is like and that pressure is like as an athlete. And if I look at our team, I look at a team that has come through so much adversity, that had so many obstacles to overcome this year. And really, I think the secret of our success with our Olympic team this year and of everything that we did was the intense preparations that went into going into Sochi and all the work that we did when nobody was watching. And I always tell the little girls and boys that I meet, hockey players, say, how do I get to the national team? And I'll say, you have to do all those little things that need to be done, but especially when nobody's watching, because that's when it's going to pay off the most. And our journey to Sochi was probably the most difficult year I've ever had in hockey and the most challenging. And I would describe our team, instead of dig a little deeper as what you saw in the video, which was our initial team motto, I think it was really a story about toughness and resilience and having the rigor to get through every day's challenges, which is no different than what you're facing right now in growing and merging ACON into one ACON. And we started our journey to Sochi in May in Penticton, BC, which is a beautiful spot to train and hang out, but it was called boot camp for a reason. We spent 45 days together, and we trained for between 10 and 12 hours a day of actual physical activity, anything from swimming to kickboxing to yoga to the final climb of our last day in Penticton included a cycle up Apex Mountain, which if there's any cyclists in the audience, you probably wouldn't know that that's one of the toughest climbs in the world. And here we were doing it on mountain bikes in the rain. If you watch the video there, you could see the bikes going like this instead of going like this up the road, which was what we were finishing doing. But it was a really rigorous camp. And the point of the boot camp was to set the stage so that everybody that was coming into camp with the national team, the 27 women that were going to be assembled, would all understand that this wasn't going to be easy. Yes, we'd won 3 Olympic gold medals before, but to win the 4th and to do it in Russia, everybody was gunning for us. And our record in the last World Championships wasn't that good either. We had lost the previous 2 to the U.S. Not only that, we went through a 60-game season leading up into Sochi. So we played various AAA, Junior A guys teams across Canada, mainly in the West. And we spent better part of 6-7 months on the road, on the bus, barnstorming all over the place. At one point in time, we actually had 17 of 24 players on our team that were either taped or injured. We had just incredible adversity in that department. And really, the schedule that we were embarking on was much tougher than a typical NHL schedule in terms of the demands on our time and the games that we were playing, sometimes 4 in a week, which is a lot. And so the point of it all, as athletes, we're sitting there going, we need a break, this needs to be finished. And our coaching staff and trainers are sitting in the other side of the fence saying, the purpose of all of this is so that when you get to the Olympics is going to feel easy. And usually that's what happens. And I think it's probably no different in your business. You go through implementing a new SAP system or whatever it might be, and it's a lot of headaches and training and stress in the beginning, but at the end, it's to make everything easier down the road. And it's the same thing in our business. But with Kevin, what he really brought to our team was a fresh look. And all he cared about at the end of the day was hockey. There was no drama. There was no strings attached. He had no idea who anybody really was and how they played, and so everybody kind of got a fresh pair of eyes to look at. And we talked a lot about leadership with him and I, a lot of quiet chats about hockey and leadership, and we talked a lot about leading from the front sometimes, and sometimes you have to lead from behind, and what it was going to take for our team and our group of women to go to the Olympics and have that kind of success. And I think it's kind of like a reno on a house. When you get somebody new, you come in, you clean house, and you start all over again. And really, you know, there was one quote that he left with us, which is, you know, girls, I don't really know what roles you're going to be in moving forward, but no matter where I put you, blossom where you're planted. And it's something that sort of stuck with everybody. And his leadership, I think, was integral to us being able to win that gold in that final game, the composure that he had. As an athlete, same with your business, if you don't adapt, you usually die or you get left behind. And so for anybody that didn't want to sort of buy into what Kevin was selling in terms of the new style of play or what his role, what he expected of each one of us in our roles, it probably meant that at the final moment, you probably weren't going to see much ice time. And so you had to be able to embrace change for myself, for everybody else involved. And sometimes, especially as an older athlete or a more established athlete, that's not an easy thing to do and hits your ego pretty hard. But we all had to buy into that. There was the final game, which all of you or many of you watched. And I honestly have to say that was one for the ages. It was an out-of-body experience a little bit, the way that the game went. A lot of momentum swings. We started down 2-0 with about 15 minutes to go on our bench. We were pretty calm, but we realized that we had to have a sense of urgency. And I really believe that all the games, all the adversity that our team faced leading up into that final game prepared us mentally and physically to be able to come back and win. Because we'd played so many games throughout the year where we were down 2-0, where it was not a big deal to come back and win. And I think within our bench, you could look down our bench, and everybody on that bench truly believed that we weren't out of the game until that final buzzer went. And that's not always the case on a team. When we were down, it was about, I think, 3:30 left. We scored our first goal, and there was a little life on the bench again because it had been pretty quiet. And then that second goal went in with about 54 seconds left, and the bench erupted. Kevin was pretty calm, you know, trying to keep everybody in order. And then it was time to go into overtime. So we went into the dressing room between the third period and overtime, and everybody was excited and talking a mile a minute, and a few of us veterans just tried to keep everybody sort of calm and focused on what we were going to do in the overtime. And you know, one of the things that I remember saying was, get some sugars in, you guys, like to drink some Gatorade, eat something, because it had been a long game. And then finally saying, this is our apex mountain. This is why we went up that damn mountain for 2 hours in the rain. Everybody's crusty and just wanted to go home in boot camp, was for that moment when we were going to go out, and in the first 5 minutes of overtime, we were going to win a gold medal. And I think there was just an air of not cockiness, but of confidence and certainty that we knew that we were the fitter team, that we definitely had more training than the Americans, that we played more tough games and had a worse schedule than they did, and that if we had the opportunity, we were going to win that gold medal. And that's exactly what happened. Went out into the overtime. If you watched, I got a quasi breakaway there in the overtime. But I have to say that it was 56 seconds into my shift. That's why she caught me from behind. But the American caught me from behind and dragged me, or clipped my skate actually, and got my pant, and then I fell down. And as the puck was sliding forward, all I could think of was my dad yelling in the stands, "Skate!" And I was also formulating how I was going to score on a penalty shot. I was going to go forehand roof or backhand roof, depending on what she did. All of these thoughts going through my mind in the span of about 3 seconds, as the whistle blows and she goes like this and points to center ice, which is the indication for a penalty shot. So I'm deep breathing, trying to get myself composed, thinking, okay, I'm going to have a penalty shot to win the Olympic Games here. This is crazy. And then all of a sudden she goes like this to wave the penalty off, which was ridiculous. But anyway, so penalty shot to no penalty shot. We had to sort of sort everything out. But what ended up happening was it ended up being a 4-on-3. And that is actually better odds to score than a penalty shot. It's probably about, I'd say, about a 70% chance. And a penalty shot might be about a 30% chance. So later, my teammates would definitely let me know that they were very happy we got a 4-on-3 versus me getting the penalty shot to win the game. It was all planned out. We went to the bench, coach drew up the play, and it's exactly how it ended up happening. And all I can think of is when the puck went in the net and I saw it go in to the side, that my first thought that went through my head was, thank God this is over. And I get to go home because it was such an intense game. And when I think of those moments in that 5 minutes, there's a quote that comes to my mind, which is that courage is one step ahead of fear. Because for sure, every single one of us in that dressing room was somehow scared a little bit, somehow afraid to lose. But there was a lot more courage in that room than there was fear, and I think that's what enabled us to have success in the end.